I'm curious, what is the difference between a think aloud and talking to the text?
That's a great question, Elizabeth, and I was confused for about 2 years when I started working in Reading Apprenticeship about this, because I thought that they were more similar than they are different. Let me try to explain the difference. The think aloud is classically thinking out loud as you're reading and making sense of a text. You might marginally highlight or mark the text as you're reading if you're a kinesthetic or digital learner. Sometimes people mark the text as they go. But typically, what is going on is in your head is what is reported. And what is reported in the think aloud is what other people in the classroom are noticing. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about talking to the text exercise is really done first individually. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really good for second language students because many of them need more time to get the information either translated from their language or to think about the text structure or to have more time. So that could be an assignment at home to talk to the text. But what we want to do is to make sure that when the talking to the text is done, that there's some activity around discussing the talking to the text, so that metacognition happens in the classroom in real time after the annotations have been made on the paper, on the reading. So the big difference is, I think, that talking to the text is done first alone and then shared. Think aloud is done in real time with authentic mistakes mm-hmm. and authentic confusion and mispronunciations and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then in both cases, the discussion should be around what did you notice, why was that important, and what can we learn from this? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does. And when I'm hearing that and I'm thinking about students becoming proficient with those kinds of routines, I can see how important it is for the instructor to model those.
Yes, absolutely. And to call them by name. I tell my students that it's time that I'm going to think aloud now and I'd like your attention, or for homework tonight, you need to talk to the text. And how I define that for them is very simply, talking to the text is writing your think aloud. Mm-hmm. And at first they're not very good at it. Mm-hmm. They don't know that they can ask questions to the text because this is a new routine for them. Right. And they don't know how to make the connections. One example is my reading class did 3 weeks on water scarcity. And at first there was a lot of confusion about why we're even doing water scarcity because it wasn't a U.S. problem. Mm-hmm. But once we got into the readings, they saw it is indeed a U.S. problem and that it involves everybody, and that they began to annotate their texts in very real ways, asking questions, and then in their culminating project, all of those annotations were put together in some graphic form to show what they learned. So back to the whole reason why Reading Apprenticeship is so important on our campuses. It's critical that there be a purpose for reading and that the instruction be intentional. Mm-hmm. So I like both of these because they do different things in different ways. Mm-hmm. They teach, they scaffold good reading skill, but it empowers students to value their own reasoning and their own thinking and to learn the processes of other students. Mm-hmm. And sometimes students come from cultures where they themselves have not been respected or valued as learners. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love this, because they get to say, oh, that's an aha moment for me. I really learned something.
And it's okay to make mistakes too.
We all do, yeah. Especially the teacher. So, and so if there's a mispronunciation and or if there's a misreading or a line has to be reread, that's all done in real time. So they see it's okay and that it's valued, that doing that is valued. Like I sometimes will just say, oh, I misread that, just a minute. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go back and reread that phrase or that sentence. And sometimes, that's one of the things about the Think Aloud that I absolutely love is students come to our classes and they do not understand the value of rereading. They think they can read something one time and that's it. And that particularly happens in biology. It happens in math class, where they read the word problem and they think, oh, it's just multiplication. Well, not necessarily. So rereading is a skill that I focus on a lot, and the value of rereading, and what I thought first and what I thought after I reread it. You know what I'm saying? So does that clarify a little bit?
Thank you so much.
Good. That's a $1 million question, because lots of people working with students often wonder what the big difference is.